All right, everybody. Sorry for the awkward lighting that you're going to have here, but welcome to week number 2. That is right, week number 2 of your 9407 class, which is your intellectual freedom and its discontents class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. Jace K. Austin. And what we will do this week is we will go through a very quick state of the course update. And then after our state of the course update, I am going to tell you a couple of things about APA. Two common mistakes that people make in APA specifically, so that you all can hopefully avoid those mistakes. If you watch the video, then you should avoid the mistakes. However, I've had people, oddly enough, watch the video and still watch these videos that I do on APA and still they make the exact mistakes that I'm talking about. Hopefully that will be nobody in this class, but these are also optional videos, and so if you had me in a class before, this APA stuff is not anything new. You've heard me say it in other classes, and you've been graded on it in other classes. So having said that, if you are somebody who's had me in a course before, you may want to go ahead and cut the video off once I am done with the state of the course updates, because there's really no new information with the APA, unless you just want to get like a brush up on the APA or get a reminder. But aside from that, let's go ahead and jump in, man. This video should be probably 20 minutes long at most, and that's 20 minutes long without being sped up. So it'll be under 20 minutes long if you speed it up. So let's go ahead and dive into it. We are in our student view here, and I do want to say that I was very, very pleased overall with I won't even say overall. I was just very pleased with the performance that you all had on the discussion boards, excuse me, in the first week. So, good job. Keep it up. I want that type of thought. This week we will be going into First and 14th Amendment basics. So we will talk about freedom of speech as well as freedom of press, freedom of assembly, all of those sorts of things. But we're mainly focused on freedom of speech, but you are going to need to know how the First Amendment and the 14th Amendment kind of work in tandem, so that basically the First Amendment by itself, without the 14th Amendment, really deals largely with the federal government, right? But the 14th Amendment comes along, and the 14th Amendment makes it so that the states and local municipalities and counties or parishes, if you are in Louisiana, but places that are not the federal government within governments that are not the federal government within the United States, the 14th Amendment makes them abide by the same types of constitutional limitations that the federal government would have to a certain extent. That's it in a nutshell. But the materials that we have this week will go into that in a bit more depth. And then what we're going to do is, a lot of people, what I've noticed in librarianship and with the public at large, the general public at large, is that a lot of people do understand that there's freedom of speech, but they don't understand how there are limits to freedom of speech. And there are limits to freedom of speech. And we won't talk about limits to freedom of speech in this module this week, but we'll be speaking about those in the next 2 to 3 weeks, for the next 2 to 3 weeks, next week, the week after, and the week after that. So you're going to learn some of the things that are not protected by the First Amendment, including obscenity, including child pornography, including libel, all of these sorts of things. And outside of that, excuse me for a minute. And outside of that, we are going to, come to terms, I would say, with the fact that unless a type of speech has, through case law, been, unless a type of speech has lost its First Amendment protections through case law, then the type of speech is actually protected. And that does include hate speech. Yes, hate speech is protected under the First Amendment, and we've got a whole module dedicated just to that, because there are a lot of librarians out there, and I think I mentioned this last week, but there are a lot of librarians out there who will tell you straight up, hate speech is not protected by the First Amendment. Ask them what case law makes hate speech not protected by the First Amendment, and they'll be like, grrr. But then if you say fighting words are not protected by the First Amendment and they turn around and say, okay, what case law makes fighting words not protected by the First Amendment? You're going to say Chaplinsky versus New Hampshire, because you're going to know that once this course is over. And so that is some of the stuff that, frankly, we need to be teaching in intellectual freedom classes throughout the United States. And I teach it in my intellectual freedom class, but all LIS programs should teach it in their intellectual freedom class, so that we don't have librarians who sound ignorant talking about, hate speech isn't protected by the First Amendment. Yes, it is. And who is teaching y'all that it isn't? Apparently, there's a library program that is, and I'm not speaking names, but there's a library program that is teaching its students that hate speech is not protected by the First Amendment. And I hate that there's a library school out there somewhere that is teaching students wrong. But anyway, I don't want that to be me. So again, I'm very pleased with what you all were doing on the discussion boards in the first week. Keep it up. Keep that level of quality up, and you will all do fine in the class overall. I do also want to say that you all need to be on the lookout. Actually, yeah, let's make me small. You all do need to be on the lookout for an announcement from me about the debate and whether or not you want to participate. I will probably put that announcement in the class this weekend. I am hoping for 6 or 8 people who are going to participate in the debate. And so if I have 6, then 3 of you will debate that. If I have 6, then 3 of you will debate that hate speech should not have First Amendment protections, and 3 of you will say it should. And then if I have 8, then it'll be 4 on each side. So that, excuse me. So yeah, that keeps that at, I do want to have an even number of people, or the same number of people on each side. So we're not going to go 7 with 4 on one side and 3 on the other. We're going to keep things balanced, okay? And I'll be looking for volunteers and letting the volunteers know what they would get if they volunteer. Probably again in an announcement this weekend. All right, so let's talk about some APA. So I need to try to do this in 13 minutes. Pause. Okay, so let's actually go back into the course, because for me to be saying that I'm going to be talking about APA and 2 common mistakes in APA, I probably do need to also let you all know why you even need to know anything about APA or what assignments you're going to be using APA for. So there are some assignments where I am going to be checking to make sure that your APA is formatted properly. And then there are assignments where I'm honestly not. The discussion board prompts, I do want them in APA if you're citing things, but I do not count off on discussion board prompts or discussion board posts if the APA is formatted incorrectly. Because to me, the discussion board posts are just that, the discussion. They're informal. And I find citation to be more of a formal thing, so I don't see the need in penalizing for improper APA use in the discussion boards. Just do the discussion boards, cite so you don't plagiarize. But if there are errors in your APA citation on the discussion boards, so what? I think it's probably kind of a prick move to try to make you actually have perfect APA in the discussion board prompts. But there are 2 assignments that you are going to need to have your APA up to snuff, because I will count off if it is not. The first is going to be your book report. So we talked last week about the banned or challenged book report that you all have going. And you will see there are 3 points awarded for APA in-text citations and reference lists with proper formatting. So yes, if you have these, if you have the 2 common errors that I'm about to talk about in your, if you have these errors in your citation for your book report, then I am going to count off for that. And then also, if you will have to use proper APA as well. For those of you who do the final paper, you will have to have proper APA for this as well. So really, you have 2 assignments in this course where your APA has to be right in it. And if it is not formatted correctly, then you will lose points. And you'll see a rubric prong right here, and that includes APA citation. All right. So again, that is, those are the 2 assignments that you have that I will be taking off for improper APA is going to be the banned book report and the final paper. Debate contestants, by the way, will not have to do the final paper. Your grade will be based on your debate performance. And again, I'll get into that a little bit more in the announcements that I put up later in the week about the about APA. I mean, about the debate. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. But what I want you all to also be aware of, and having said that, is that I am actually, even though the advocacy letter assignment is a formal assignment, no, you will actually not lose points for APA usage or improper APA usage with the advocacy letter. And I talk about that a little bit within the prompt. So I'm not going to read this right now out loud. You can read it now, or you can read it closer to the time that this assignment is going to be due, which is November the 17th. But letters, because letters are cleaner if you don't have all that citation and stuff in them, I don't require proper APA usage in a letter assignment, because, you know, when was the last time you read a letter and it really did have like properly formatted in-text citations and all of that stuff? A lot of times, to keep letters clean, people use footnotes or endnotes. So having said that, don't worry about APA when it comes to the advocacy letter. Okay, so let's talk about those two common mistakes. So here we have the general format. And by the way, yes, if you don't want to actually buy the APA citation style manual, that is perfectly okay. You can actually, at least in my class, get away with just using the Purdue OWL for APA. And all you really need to do, for those of you who may have been out of school for a while or are unfamiliar with the APA, I mean, not the APA, with the Purdue OWL, yes, basically if you just Google Purdue OWL APA, you will be brought here. This is open access. You can go ahead and use it. You can go ahead, Google it, use it. It's free for all, and you can use this. And most of my students are able to get by on just using the Purdue OWL for their APA. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into these two common mistakes. Outside of these two common mistakes, I actually have confidence that most of you are going to do your APA correctly outside of these two common mistakes, as long as you consult the style manual or you consult the Purdue OWL or something like that. But because I know that a lot of students make these two common mistakes, I'm going to go ahead and try to prevent you all from making these two common mistakes so that your grades will be as high as possible, which is what I want. So first of all, it really doesn't matter if you know an author's given names. In your reference list, this is one of the common mistakes. You only provide initials for their first and middle name. And I have people do this every single semester, including, again, people who have watched the videos and who I've warned about this already. So if you were, my name is Jason Kelly Austin. I gave y'all my whole government name. If you are citing me in a reference list for APA, you do not put Austin, comma, JK. I mean, you do put Austin, comma, JK. Now I'm getting ahead of myself. You put Austin, comma, JK. You do not put Austin, comma, Jason Kelly. You put Austin, comma, JK. Just like how you see Ahmed, comma, S here. Even if you knew this person's first name, like let's say this person's first name was Sam. Let's say this was Sam Ahmed. Even if you knew their first name, you still only initial it, okay? You only initial the given names, and you will see this consistently. At no point are they writing out the first and middle names for the reference list. Soto CJ, John OP. And if we keep scrolling down, you will not see one time where they are writing out a full name. All right? And so that's what I want from you all. That is what I want from you all. I want you all to do your work right. And so, again, I'm not trying to be a prick. I've had people on student evaluations say before that my grading of their reference list or their APA was just nitpicky. Well, I want it done right. And it shouldn't be considered nitpicky to want you all to actually do your work right. So yes, do it correctly. Do not provide or write out the whole first name or the whole middle name. You give an initial. The whole last name, yes, write it out. but you do not write out the whole first or middle name. All right. The next thing that I'm going to show you, this is something that gets a little more tricky than that first one. So this one may take the remaining 5 minutes to explain, but I'm going to explain it, and hopefully my explanation of it is going to be something that saves y'all some time in the future and saves y'all from losing some points in the future. So, and we're going to look at articles and books, but actually when it comes to websites and electronic resources, I'm not going to be as nitpicky with mistakes as far as websites because they're a little more confusing as I am with articles and books. But actually, we're going to start with the books. So one thing when you are putting your references list together in APA, one weird nuance of APA is that, and I'm going to also put something, I'm going to put like a capitalization guide for APA in this announcement as well, so that you all will have access to that, and that should help you out as well in case you don't actually buy this the style manual. It's an excerpt from the style manual. But here's the thing, and this is a good example here. So when you are, let's say you have a book and you're writing the reference list entry for the book, the only words that you capitalize for a book in a reference list in APA, and I know this is tricky, but this is how it works. You capitalize the first word of the title, the first word of the subtitle, and then any given names. Or any, I'm sorry, not given names, any proper names or proper nouns. So let me not repeat myself, but actually correct myself here. Again, when you are citing in APA, making your reference list, you capitalize the first word of the title, the first word of the subtitle, and proper nouns. So people, places, things that need to be capitalized, okay? And so here is a good example. A New Companion to Mallory is the name of the book. And as you can see, or the title of the book, and as you can see, only A and Mallory are capitalized. New is in lowercase, company is in lowercase. In standard English, new and company would be capitalized, but in an APA citation style reference list, they are not. Okay, it is going to go slightly over 20 minutes, but it's not going to go over 25 minutes. And again, I hope you have sped it up. So again, you're going to kind of see that again here. Title of work, title is capitalized, capital is capitalized in the subtitle. But aside from that, you're not seeing other things capitalized. That's your format right there, your example. And so here, again, you see it kind of in action. Writing your journal article in 12 weeks, a guide to academic publishing success. Writing, capitalized. A, capitalized. Your journal article, 12 weeks, guide, academic publishing success. All are lowercase. But again, if you had a proper noun in there, you would capitalize that as well. So let's look again at, here's another good thing here, another good example. So we see a proper noun here. Norton, that is somebody's name. So you see that Norton is capitalized. You see that English is capitalized. English is another one of those words that you capitalize it regardless if it's used as a language or as an ethnicity, okay? So there you have it for that. And then if we look at, and I'm sorry that this is going to go over 20 minutes, but it's just going to go slightly over 20 minutes. Articles and periodicals get a little tricky, but the good thing is that the same rules will apply for the different types of periodicals. So whether you are looking at magazines, journals, or newspapers, either way, when you're dealing with a periodical, these things stay pretty consistent. So that's at least kind of helpful. So the weird thing, again, when you get into articles and periodicals and you're citing those, is that capitalization scheme that I was just talking about, it applies to the title of the article, but not to the title of the periodical. So let's hopefully make sense of this. This is an article title. The Eclipse of Listening is an article title. The New Criterion is a publication title. It is a periodical title. You will see that the New Criterion is actually capitalized in the way that you would have standard English capitalization. They didn't just capitalize the, they capitalized new, and they capitalized criterion. However, with the article title, you are seeing the same thing that you saw with the books, where the first word of the title, the first word of the subtitle, and any proper nouns are capitalized, but all other words like eclipse and listening are lowercase. Let's scroll down and get a few more examples of that. Okay, so again, we have a publication or periodical title here, Writing Center Journal. Now, we have our article title here. Tell me exactly what it is that I was doing that was so bad. Tell, capitalized. Understanding, capitalized. But as you can see, me, lowercase, exactly, lowercase. What, doing, bad, lowercase. Needs, expectations, working, class, students, writing, centers, lowercase. So again, when you're dealing with publications, with periodicals, then what you do, again, is you capitalize all of the major words in the title of the publication. And you also put the title of the publication in italics. That's also something that needs to be made very clear. But when you look at the article title, whether it is a magazine article, journal article, or newspaper article, then you will see those things applying the same rules as what you saw for book titles. So better late than never. Late and never are lowercase, even though better is capitalized, but you see time is capitalized, but that's only one word. But if we keep scrolling, you'll see similar stuff here. The country today, country and today are capitalized. That is, this is the publication title or the periodical title, but this is the article title, and you will see the article title only capitalizes calls. And then, yeah, same thing going on here. I'm not even gonna dive into that. But again, like I said, I'm going to give a little more leeway in electronic sources because electronic sources do get a little more tricky. But still, the leeway is not coming from the authors. With the authors still do the initials for the given names. But then when it comes to pages versus sites, that's really what gives a lot of students trouble. And it's something that can get kind of, I'll keep it real. Yeah, it can get kind of mysterious even to people who are professors or who are librarians. So I give a little more leeway there, not complete leeway. So if you do something that you really, really should, and this is up to my discretion, if you do something when citing electronic resources like websites and web pages and that sort of thing, that does violate the capitalization to such an extent that I'm just like, come on now, you know better than that, then yes, there are going to be some penalties. But if I see just some very, if I see some minor mistakes within, with capitalization for electronic resources, I'm not going to be as adamant about that because this is actually a lot more confusing than what you'll find with books and periodicals, okay? All right, so yes, I did manage to keep this under 25 minutes, and if you sped it up, because I know I had to slow down some of the talking because of, because there were just, well, there was a distraction with the lawn guy, and then there were just other things going on. And also, I got knocked out yesterday in my martial arts practice, so I don't know. Hopefully, I'm not concussed, but I also feel like my mind is going all over the place. Anyway, having said that, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I am Dr. Jace, and we are all going to finish this intellectual freedom race. Peace out. I will see ya next week with another check-in video. Thank you.